Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be reviewing Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D. Now this one holds a very special place in my heart because when I watched it younger, I would always binge watching this one the most. Because the DVD that I had of this, I also had it with the Crystal Lake set, but I had it as a standalone DVD. It came with 3D glasses. So the big gimmick of this film was it was in 3D. Stuff would come out, of the screen, and you could see it. It was very gimmicky. Like I've heard from the actors would purposely be told to drop yo-yos onto the screen and stuff like that. But it's fun. It's out of these movies, it's the one I've watched the most. Definitely, I've probably watched this almost every year since 2016. Every year since 2016, I've watched this movie once a year. And let's talk about the positives. So, the positives for this film is it feels very connected to Part 2, not only because it was directed by Steve Miner, but because the way the story is written and the story takes place, and I guess the script written, but how it takes place a day after Friday the 13th, Part 2. Or picks up we see at the beginning of the film, the ending of Part 2, and Jenny being carried off on the stretcher, and then it picks up to this couple watching that. I think that takes place at night, so I think that's either the night of it or the morning or something like that. So I think Part 3 takes place over 2 days following Friday the 13th Part 2. And this one has one of my favorite final girls in the whole franchise. I think she's most people would say Jenny's better. I think that you could make a strong argument for that, but I'd say my personal opinion, I think Chris is above Jenny. Jenny's top 3 for final girls, at least. Tommy Jarvis is better than any other character in this whole franchise, but as far as the final girls themselves, my ranking goes Trish, Chris, and then Jenny. The best ones of this franchise. So, and we don't have counselors this time. We have just people trying to go on vacation, because Chris brings her friends. I believe it's Andy and Shelly. And I swear, I cannot remember any other character's name besides Chris, Andy, and Shelly, and then Chris's love interest, Rick, who comes up to the property to meet her. And so they go to this place called Higgins Haven. We get some cool shots with the bikers whenever Shelly and one of the girls goes to the gas station to fill up the car and get stuff, and the bikers confront him, and then Shelly hits the bikers' bikes, and then so they follow him back to the barn. They're trying to burn the place down, but then Jason kills the girl biker, and then kills the one the other male biker, and then the final one he beats him up off screen, and they'll come back at the end of the film. So fast forward a little bit, a couple deaths. There's one that kind of pays homage back to the originals, Arrow Kill, except it's Andy's girlfriend, the one that was pregnant, I think, and she gets stabbed through the chest with a machete. We're kind of calling back Kevin Bacon's or Jack's kill in the first film, and it's not as good. Again, Tom Savini did not come back for this film's effects. He would come back for next films, which we'll discuss in the final chapters review. But I will say this, I think I remember less characters in this film than I do in the others, because I feel like everybody besides Shelly and Chris and Rick and Andy. Oh no, I remember Andy, just the name. And then I remember his the yo-yo thing. Yeah. But everybody else I cannot remember at all. What was it, Vera? I think Vera was the name of one of the characters. She's the one, I think in the scene where Jason gets his hockey mask. That's the most iconic part of this film. So he's on the dock, Shelly gets rejected by Vera. And then she thinks later he comes back because Shelly was wearing this hockey mask and a harpoon gun. So Jason walks up there, and his outfit stays the same. As last film, he had kind of the country, not the country, but the long unkept hair, the kind of country overalls, and the bag, the sack head. And this time, bald, green button-up shirt, blue jeans, the hockey mask itself. There's a story that one of the people behind the film, I believe the 3D operator, he was a Red Wings fan, and he brought his hockey mask to the set, and they tried it on and it looked really good on Jason, and that stuck. The thing that if he would not have been in that day, or he may not have been a part of this film, then we never would have got the Jason we know and love, the iconic Jason. So he kills Vera by shooting her in the eye with a harpoon gun. Pretty gnarly death, one of like the more iconic ones of this film. And Rick is probably, he gets the one that you think of the most, where his head's crushed and his eye pops. Yeah, that was big for the 3D. It's kind of cheesy looking, but it's still really cool. Like, really good for 83. I can imagine, or not 83, 82. This because the movie came out in 1982, a year after Part 2. So, then we get our final girl circuit. Chris discovers her friends, and Jason. Well, we do find out some. I was going to mention last episode how the whole, like, long-haired, unkept Jason is probably not what he actually looked like, because that would contradict what Chris claims happened to her. She says that when she was there with her family, she got attacked by Jason, by this bald guy, and that's basically Jason's appearance in this movie. And that's what was like a year before this film, so it doesn't make any sense that he would look like that in 81 or 84. Whenever this movie I think takes place in 84, so he would look like that. He would not look like that in 83, and then change to like the long haired look in 84, then back to his look from 83. This doesn't make much sense. So that's more likely a dream. So. And then Jason's death happens, or not death, like knockout, but, don't know how he came back from it, because at this point he's just a human that's really strong. He could have, because basically after he's killed Ali, the biker from earlier, Ali, the one that he knocked out earlier, beat up, when Ali comes back to try to fight Jason slices his hand off, and he's going, hacking at him. Chris picks up the axe and drives into his skull, and then we get the... Well, that gives him his iconic hockey mask, Slash. And, he's down. She goes to this canoe, rests, almost like the ending of the first film. It basically is. And then when she's out there, she sees Jason, back up, and he's running at her, and then all of a sudden, the moldy corpse of Mrs. Voorhees jumps up from the water and pulls her down into the water. And that would make zero sense, because I don't believe Chris even knew who Pamela Voorhees was, so it wouldn't make sense she was dreaming about it. So it's a weird ending. I still love this film. I think it's got so much merit. It's a fun summer film. The 3D makes it a little campy, but it's. I know some fans of the franchise hate this one. I wouldn't say many, but I've heard some that dislike it. I love it. I think Chris is a great final girl. Like I said, I think Jason's actor, Richard Brooker, who unfortunately passed away about 12 years ago, rest in peace, he does great. He's not my favorite portrayal of Jason, but he really starts to set up Jason as, what do you think of Jason? Now, Ted White, who does in the final chapter, is my favorite actor for Jason. Him or Kane Hodder, because Kane Hodder is basically Jason. 4 films he stars in, which we'll talk about later on this week. But overall, this movie is a fun time. I recommend it to anybody, especially Friday the 13th fans. If I'm recommending you films to get into, if there is one Friday the 13th film I would tell you to watch if you never saw the franchise before, probably Final Chapter. But if there was 3 or 4, this is definitely one of those I'd recommend you to watch. And it just set up what we know as Jason to come, and it's a big deal in the franchise. Sets a lot of things in motion, and next episode we'll see how Jason dies. This whole trilogy of films that took place in the same weekend or the same 5 days space. He's gonna die next episode in the final chapter. But it turns out that was not the final chapter, because we have a bunch of more movies to get through. And I'm very excited to talk about next episode. Corey Feldman in it. Great film. Probably the one I think about the most when I think about this franchise. But until then, what I rate this film? I think it's on the par of Part 2. I'd say it's an 8.9. 8.9 out of 10. Part 4 is going to get a great rating. I'll see you then. As always, stay blessed. I love you guys. Take care.